Have you ever felt it? A call made to you when you're closed in on at the end of your path? The call of the void is different for every being. A feeling that emerges within your body, causing you to remain perfectly still. For a moment, you feel your mind slowly creeping towards something that wants you. It puts you in a trance, lowering your natural instincts to fight or flee. It's when you stare into an ocean and want nothing more than to enter it and remain underneath it. It's when you're looking over a cliff and you can't help but want to jump. But there's an anomaly within every lineage of Waren's bloodline. One the void cannot call upon. One that can fight the void and prevent others from answering that call. The only ones the void fears. Before the world had gods and goddesses, it had its own method of ending the life of the beings that inhabited it. When Waren, the patron god of death, was born, he created his disciples, his spectres, to carry out the end of the journeys for all living things. Waren used every inch of power he had to contain the void within its realm. He placed a seal that would be tied to every living spectre, which ensured that it could never be broken. In retaliation, the void did something unexpected. It came for Waren, leaving a crack in its seal. The void had been seeping through the bog slowly over time, preying on the spectres, hunting them down, forcing them to answer their call no matter the consequences. To the void, we are the illness. We are the invaders. And it won't stop until every last spectre has been wiped from existence. I've heard the call more than once in my lifetime. My mother answered the call and was told to take me with her. Another when my childhood friend led me to a hag's cottage and offered up our lives. I narrowly escaped both times while my mother and my friend had their lives ended. It seems as if the void knew I'd become a spectre before I was even born. Rula's regime found me deep within the Deadlands, trying to fight back the void's corruption. It had encased me within its shadows, invading my mind, using the voices of those I once knew in order to break me. "Ayleigh," I heard my mother call. "Come be with me. I miss you, darling." I slammed my hands on either side of my head, screaming to drown out the voices.
"You promised you'd stay with me. You promised you wouldn't leave me."
Jura's voice called out the final words I heard from her as I ran from that hag's cottage. Ayleigh! The voices of the ones that the void took from me swirled around my mind. I learned that when the void mounted its attack against me, my daggers were useless. They couldn't pierce shadows. No more could they cut through water. I needed a weapon, something strong enough to strike down shadows. I remember digging my fingers into the dirt. The light of the moon's beam casted over my head, revealing the shadows on the ground were intertwining with my own. I closed my eyes once more, picturing my own shadow growing from my body. I imagined my fingers extending into claws, and my shadow self shrieking before lunging at the horrors that had surrounded. Within an instant, the voices in my mind had been replaced with silence. When I had the courage to open my eyes once more, a new shadow stood over me. The shadow of a human. My eyes darted to find a woman covered in light metallic armor. I watched her fists tighten around the grips she had with each of her swords. Her breathing was fast and heavy, the one thing I could hear. She stared down at me, connecting her eyes with mine. I thought to myself, this is where it ends for me. The void wins. Instead, she released her swords, allowing them to fall to the ground. She brought herself down to me, her eyeline leveled with mine. Her hands raised themselves to my shoulders, and I felt them tug at me. She pulled me into her chest and held on to me, tightly. 4 specters died that night. 4 specters risked their lives to save my own. 4 lives were exchanged for 1. I carried that guilt with me until the day came that I was tasked with rescuing a young boy who would also become a specter. It was then that I understood their sacrifice. I became a part of Rula's regime using my shadow to attack the void. Not many specters were able to call upon their own shadow. Rula, along with the rest of the leaders, called my kind Warren's nightmares. A final stand in the war between specters and the void.